The West Coast Eagles dominating the headlines for finding themselves in the unusual position of being the whipping boy of the competition at the moment. Tonight, Footy Classified, having done some extensive research and conducted numerous conversations with people from the West and also in the football community, can break a number of stories on the rebuild of the West Coast Eagles, which has been worked on for the last few months behind the scenes. And often in football, when things are going so bad on the field, it's the start of things happening off the field. Tonight, I can confirm to you that the West Coast Eagles want Adam Simpson to remain as their coach. What they will do, though, is give Adam Simpson plenty of time, because of the pressure he's been under, to have a think about what he wants to do. If he stays, they want him to take a 3-month holiday with his family and just get out of town. That'll be at the end of the season, of course, but just to get out and spread your wings and let all the hardships of the last few years try and get out of the system. The second thing is the West Coast Eagles, I believe, will have in the next 18 months, quote, millions of dollars to throw at free agency in 2024. At the moment, their salary cap is pretty tight, but they are looking at exiting players and also at the same time relieving their salary cap, and they're going to be heavily into the market for free agency going into 24-25. And last, before we get into the details, they are conducting at the moment a worldwide search for the best sports medicine and sports science people in the world to bring to the West Coast Eagles. Let's have a look at some of the graphics we're going to put up here at the moment just to underline that. They have lost the most games to injury of any club since 2022, 252 games. And as we roll on, first draft selections haven't been able to come through. In fact, they're going to probably drop another 8 players off their list, 12 last year, so basically half their list in 2 years. They reckon 25% of the list hasn't quite come up to measurements at the moment. So they have put Rowan O'Brien in recent times, their list manager. He was their recruiting manager. He split a pick last year, so he's not frightened to have a go at getting things happening. Also on the table could be superstars. Gaff, Darling and other clubs today said to me they would be interested in trying to get Elliot Yeo to get for draft picks. We'll come back to that in a moment. The other big story I can say is this. Harley Reid is the nominal number 1 pick. The West Coast Eagles, as we stand today, will pick Harley Reid. Only if a club like maybe yours, the Greater Western Sydney, come up with a very big suite of picks and established players, would they look outside that? But the understanding is to go hard in the draft, to go hard as of next week, and we might just put up some pictures of some players. The mid-season draft starts next week. A number of clubs around Melbourne today were telling me these 4 players could be of interest to start the rebuild of the West Coast Eagles. James Trezise, Ethan Stanley, Ryan Marrick and Brandon Ryan. Not to fill in for the next couple of months, but to be 3-4-year players going forward, like a number of players who have come through the mid-season draft in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think, Ed, they need to, as I said, get the start. I think they're 5 years away, like in terms of playing finals again. In my opinion, that's how far off they are. I'm not sure Yo, Gaff, these guys have much currency for where they are right now. But if they can show something next year and show some form of life, that's where the likes of Tim English, Aaron Norton and those types are out of contract. And Tim English, for me, would be the number 1. They're desperate for a ruckman. He's Western Australian. He's out of contract next year. He's the one that you'd go after.
You do need to supercharge it, and Ed, as you're touching on, by splitting a draft pick and getting multiple players in, especially in the first 30 as well, because you want this group in the next 2 to 3 years to be at 50, 60 games, as you were touching on, Lloydie, in 5 years. Because what happens in 5 years, if all goes to plan, Tasmania comes in, we've got compromised drafts. So you actually want to be strong or building towards being a strong club when the new team comes in.
There's a lot to take out of what you've just said there, Ed. Of interest to me was the Adam Simpson referencing and the need for him to take a break. And I know on 9 News tonight, you forecast even the possibility that could even be brought forward into the confines of the 2023 season as a possibility.
Possibly, but more likely that it'll be at the end of the year. But the quotes I heard today was, he's cooked. Roll some vision of this. Needs time away. He's a tired, anxious man at the moment because he has no levers to pull. He had 25 players last week, and then Barras was out on the morning of the game. 3 teenagers. They want him, as I said, but look, he just can't do anything at the moment. And can I just say this? Another story that I got today out of my investigations was that people don't realise, and I didn't know, how hard the West Coast Eagles were hit by COVID. They were, quote, a very physically sick club, ill club during COVID. They got into 2002, had the injuries and thought, OK, we'll bounce after that. But they've said, right, 2023 has shown where we're at. We need to get players. We've got 8 impact injuries, but there are too many soft tissues. We're going to scour the world for the best possible people and bring them in. So I think what's going on is that there's a lot of work happening at the West Coast Eagles. People like Trevor Nisbet, people say, oh, he's been there a long time. Yeah, well, you want somebody who's been there a long time who's not going to be swayed by people. I don't think Nizzy will be there when they win their next flag, but he might be the person who puts in the foundations that they need. So a lot of stories there. We're under time pressures. We'll go through it in more detail over the next couple of days. But that is a big story and a lot happening at the West Coast Eagles. And maybe for the first time in a long time, Eagles supporters can go, right, OK, we're up. And beware the wounded eagle, so particularly with millions of dollars in their kick, because they're going after players, not this year, but next year in the free agency. But get ready for them next week. Get ready for them in the pre-season draft. Get ready for them in the rookie draft. And, of course, they've got first hands on the #1 pick.